and I'm starting to feel some kind of way, and you know me. We've been vaccinated for decades, okay? So this is not about conspiracy theories and all this stuff, but, you know, there's what we're being told, and then there's a common sense approach, too. And we're seeing way too many of these breakthrough cases, and I'm not talking about, well, you still have the vaccine, you'll live. I agree. But I'm hearing from too many people who got this after believing they're fully vaccinated, and they're saying things like, boy, I felt like I was going to die. This is the worst thing ever. It may just be that this is a new thing, and we don't understand what even a mild case of COVID is going to feel like. But I want to know more about this, because you got to look at it this way, Mike. They gave out hundreds of millions of doses of this vaccine. Right. Okay, and that was the right thing to do, and they need to give out more and more until every person on the planet gets it. That's my personal opinion. But having said that, when you release that much into the marketplace and you have mass vaccination sites, I wonder if did people get, you know, and maybe you can get mad at me for wondering this. Did everybody get? No, not a placebo. I'm not into conspiracy theories. What I'm saying is, did some people get stuff that maybe was not stored properly, was expired, not administered? I don't know. But it just could be that maybe the information was bad. They're not the best at, you know, explaining things to us. That listen, you're probably going to get it.
Early on, I remember in the process, it was a mistake, and they called the people back. But I remember there was a site somewhere where they gave them placebos, and they thought they were actually giving them the COVID-19 vaccinations. They called them back, and they eventually gave them the COVID-19 vaccinations. But yeah, like you said, I think sometimes mistakes are made, and maybe some of the doses don't work or whatever, if they're not stored properly, if they don't get them in their arms in time. But once again, we got to stress, and this is what I always say. You know, I know you had the breakthrough cases, and you've spoken to people who say they had severe symptoms, but in 99.9% of the cases, if you've had the vaccination so far, those cases have not resulted in hospitalizations or deaths. So I think that's the main thing, because you look, Corona's going to be here, right, Sharon? We're talking about that. You can still, there's a possibility of you getting sick. There's a possibility of you still getting the flu or a cold and still being sick. Yeah. But as long as you stay out of the hospital or don't die, for the most part, we're okay, right?
Yeah, and the thing, so let me stress it. The people who I talked to, right, they were around to talk to me, just said it was the worst thing they ever had. So you're right. They lived, right? They lived. And so, again, not a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying that vaccines have been around forever, right? But usually when you're first born, you know, you get a couple, and then you and I get some with the flu shot. You know, it's like throughout the stage. When you release all of it, hundreds of millions of doses, all I'm saying is, listen, they had a monumental task, and maybe along the way somewhere, you know, we know that some vials had to go down the drain because they expired. Yeah. Perhaps others should have, because maybe they weren't at the right, you know, remember the special refrigerators, those first doses, they had to have all that. There are doctors I'm hearing from who, smart as they are and around this all the time, didn't know how to store it properly. And again, get mad at me. Yes, I just speculated. All I'm saying is, perhaps I'm not understanding, but it is everywhere. This COVID, this Delta, it's, you know, like smoke, not even the droplets anymore. So you go out, you don't have a mask, there's a greater risk. I'm just saying, I am in fear here. I'm in fear.
Yeah, you should be. Well. No, I mean, look, I hate to say fear, but yeah, you should be very cautious. I'm talking about, once again, and I said this yesterday on the show, I think once you get vaccinated, there is a part of you that kind of lets your guard down a little bit. And you or literally take your mask off. And you have to remember that when you're walking around in public and you see other people with their mask off, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've been vaccinated. They could be walking around with the virus themselves and actually know they have the virus, and they could pass it along to you. So it's important, even though they don't have the mask mandates in a lot of the places, whatever, that we still wear our mask in public, especially indoors. I talked to Dr. Fauci yesterday. We got to get the vaccine in people's arms, the inoculation rate up right now. We're just over 50%. We talked to Dr. Fauci. Here's what he had to say about still people being hesitant about getting vaccinated.
Look at the amount of data, the hundreds and hundreds of millions of doses that have been given in the real world and shown to be effective. there is overwhelming data that the vaccines are highly effective and safe. Now, the FDA has their processes about getting full approval. But in essence, Mike, it is a slam dunk that it's going to get approved. But
and that's coming in the next couple of weeks. And there's a poll. Right. Yeah, I like the slam dunk. Yeah, and there's a poll that's saying about 30% of the people that are hesitant right now, once it is approved, that's when they'll go ahead and get the vaccination. But once again, with these variants coming on, we got to get it in the arms very quickly, because you also heard them talk about if the variants continue to mutate, then what you have in your arm might not actually work in the future. So we got to get it up there, Sharon.
Yeah, and so, and I love Dr. Fauci. I'm sorry I missed him yesterday, because it's always a treat when he's on the show with his knowledge. But the way he breaks it down is wonderful. But again, I do believe that the messaging has been failed here. Right before you tossed to the soundbite, you said, we get the vaccine, we let our guard down. It's not we. They told us to let our guard down, remember?
Yeah,
they said, here's your reward, here's your treat. So the messaging has been all over the place, and they're up against it. This is a very difficult thing, this pandemic. They're absolutely up against it. Now, these people who talk about when it's FDA approved, I would challenge them to do a little bit more homework, okay? The FDA moves at a snail's pace. They're moving a little bit more quickly here, but you have to just be practical. Okay? Oh, the unknown. It's not. Here's what we do know. More than 600,000 people are dead in America alone. Yeah. So I don't know another way to explain to an adult that you sound crazy, okay? Okay? I can leap out of a burning building, and yes, I could break my leg. I know what's going to happen if I stay in it, don't I? So I mean, that's all I'm saying that. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, okay? All I'm saying is that they flooded hundreds of millions of doses out there, and there's going to be a few duds. That's just my personal opinion, but I'm not talking about these people who are hesitant to save their own lives. You need to get vaccinated.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said.